Hey guys, welcome back to Untitled Tactical. Today we're going to be reviewing the Pulsar Core RXQ30V thermal weapon sight, and I have it right here mounted on a 300 blackout AR. And before we get too much into talking about this scope, I'm going to point out Outdoor Legacy is the company I purchased it from, and their outdoor price was the best one I could find online. If you're planning on getting a scope, I definitely recommend going out there and checking them out. You might save about $100 and they have really good fast shipping, free shipping. Alright, so the basics of the scope, or you can see them right here. We've got a 384 by 288 sensor, which is normal for any of your lower cost scopes, and this one comes at about $1,900, so it's near the bottom of the market as far as price on thermal weapon sights goes. It has a 12.5 degree field of view, which equates to at 100 yards you can see about 20 yards wide and a little less than that high, since it's not a square sensor. And the refresh rate is 50 Hertz, so looking at a moving target, someone running or a moving car, you can, there's no tail or there's no blurring from the moving target. So it is fast enough to avoid that problem like you might have with 30 Hertz. As far as problems I've found with the scope, the battery compartment is a little too tight, so it's difficult to put in certain batteries. For an example, the Streamlight batteries, the CR123A batteries that the Streamlight uses, put them in here, it will work with them, you can close it, but it's quite difficult, you've got to use a lot of force, and you feel like you might actually break something. The Energizer batteries or other brands of batteries that are a little bit shorter, I don't have that problem with. And I do want to mention that the batteries that came with the scope, one of them was dead, and the scope wouldn't turn on actually until I checked the batteries and replaced them with fresh ones. The rail that it comes with is not the one that's pictured and it's advertised with. That rail is a quick disconnect rail, and the one that is included with the scope is has thumb screws on it. It can be removed rather quickly, but it's not. It requires a tool to put it on and off properly. And this scope, the older models prior to 2019 had a green tinted display in it. So the object you were looking at was green, kind of like traditional night vision goggles are. They've gotten rid of that green tint, and now it's just a black and white display, which is an improvement, I would say, and that rail might also have been changed at the time they made that change to a standard black and white display. It has a built-in shutter, and you got to remember to open that whenever you turn the scope on. That protects the geranium lens on the front end. It takes about 6 seconds to power up when you do turn it on, and you look through this eye cup, and that's the other complaint I have to make, is the eye cup's angle is not really enough, but once you get used to it, it's actually quite easy to use. You just have to bend your head down over it enough where it will cover your face and it won't bunch up or hit your nose or something. As far as performance goes, you have a detection distance, which is where you can tell there's something out there, can't tell what it is. For this scope, I would safely say that's about 300 yards for looking at a human target or a dog. That should show up at that distance. It could be a little closer if it's warmer weather. If you're looking at a dog, and if you're looking at something like a cow, a large animal, you'll be able to see it much further away than that. But 300 yards is a safe detection distance in an open field. And I tested this thing around a little below freezing, around 25 or so degrees Fahrenheit. So that is very good conditions for the scope. And so at warmer temperatures and during hot days, it's going to perform a lot worse. But at night or daytime, under those temperatures, I got a 300 yard detection distance. The recognition distance, where you can tell whether it's a human or a dog or a cow or what exactly it is between 100 and 200 yards, and I say you can safely say that that distance is 150 yards during the day or night. Identification distance, which is where you can tell who you're looking at, whether it's Tom or Joe, is going to be around 30 yards. And that's where you can actually recognize features on their face and who it is. It has only a black and white display. As I said earlier, there are no colors. So it's not like a FLIR scope with the Insta alert where objects will glow red, and this was somewhat concerning when I bought the scope. But once you look through it, objects are very easy to point out on white hot mode. So it has white hot and black hot, the two different color modes. On white hot mode, targets stick out really well. They glow brightly white, like a human or a dog, or any other warm thing you're looking at like a car. Really sticks out. The background is much darker. You can still make out objects in the landscape, but it's not so easy to get contrast. On black hot mode, which is the opposite of white hot obviously, targets are black, less easy to see, but the terrain really comes out. It looks like a moonlit night through the scope. So that's the distinct difference between black hot and white hot modes. It has to do with how the scope adjusts to the object it's looking at. It has about a 25 to 20 millimeter, I'm not sure actually, objective lens. It has a built-in lens protector, which is a very nice feature to protect your very expensive germanium lens on the scope. And as far as environmental protection and waterproofness, it has an IPX7 rating on it, which means you can immerse it in 3 feet of water for 30 minutes without damaging the scope, which is really good. I wouldn't recommend immersing it in water, but that means it's protected completely from rain and the elements, which is completely essential for anything you have exposed and mounted on your rifle. And by the way, the rifle is not included with the thermal weapon sight. Okay, now let's talk about zeroing the scope. It has a one-shot zero built into the scope, but I found that it's difficult to use that because seeing the bullet holes on your target is not really practical unless you're very close. The target itself, the one I used a piece of paper with aluminum tape put on the target. I'll show you a picture of it right here. And what that did is that the aluminum tape is very cold, the paper is warm, it's warmed by the sun or in just the ambient environment, and the tape is cooled off very much, does not absorb heat. So it gives you excellent contrast for a target, but the one-shot zeroing, being able to see the bullet holes and actually use it is difficult, and it's probably going to take you closer to 10 rounds to actually zero and verify that your rifle is zero. Now, I've only had this scope now for about 24 hours. This is just a quick overview video, and it has, so far, the battery, I probably run it for about an hour and a half, and last night I was running, it was cold, it was about 20 degrees, 25 degrees, and I had run it for about an hour straight. I'd already run it maybe 30 minutes before, 30-40 minutes, and it was telling me it had a half battery. So that equates to maybe about 3 hours of runtime under the cool weather, and now that I brought it inside, it's showing about 80% battery. And so I would say the 4-hour estimate that comes from the manufacturer for battery life is probably quite accurate, and the colder weather is simply reducing battery voltage and battery life. You want to keep in mind this: thermal imaging is not magic. You can't see through walls with it. You might be familiar, you might be able to thinking you can see through foliage and through trees and other things and see targets. This simply isn't true. Well, it can see through fog, smoke, and other obstructions in the air, and it can even show you through some branches. Like if there's some branches, some very, very light foliage, that there's an animal or a target behind that's blending in, but there's still some of it exposed, but it's camouflaged and you can't see it, it'll definitely stick out with the thermal weapon sight. But thermal imaging cannot see through solid objects at all. It's really quite that simple. You're not going to be able to see through walls or anything else. But in an open field are somewhere like in the woods, you can see targets. If you have a line of sight to the target from the scope, even if the target has camouflage on, you will be able to see the target. Thanks for watching. If you made it this far through the video, you'll probably want to go ahead and subscribe below. And if you've kept watching, you'll probably want to like this video as well, since if you didn't like it, you'd have stopped watching it earlier. Go ahead and right here I'll have a link to our video, which we're going to do next week. And we'll do a much more in-depth review of this scope, and we'll do a lot more through the scope shots, and we'll look at the performance under different temperatures and different environments. Until then, of course, go ahead and check out the other videos of ours. Comment below. Let us know what you'd like to see here on the channel. And thank you so much for watching.